welcome all. Welcome to Cyma's webinar series. We've got an exciting topic hosted by Zahir Alward. So Zahir presented at the NZ Data Summit this presentation last month. So it had some really, really good feedback. So we're really looking forward to this one. So yeah, anticipation is high. So just a quick one in terms of any questions. So what we're going to do is going to ask you, if you've got any questions, please put them in the meeting chat. Peter is monitoring the chat and we will come to those questions at the end of the preso if they haven't been covered already. Collect any ones which are similar. So that's it from me. Yeah, again, welcome. I'll hand over to you, Zahir. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou kotoa. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to talk about the smart meter solution. We titled this presentation as from drip to data. It's the journey for Watercare, a smart meter program. I presented this paper into the New Zealand 6th annual Government Data Summit. So without further ado, I'll dive into the presentation. So the agenda for today is I'll give you a bit of introduction onto the smart meter current state and challenges, and then we'll talk about the diversity and the standardization of the smart metering data, smart metering core solution and the components around it, and the transformational model and approach we took in bringing the smart meter data into Watercare infrastructure, and then how we consume the data at the our end, at our customer end. And then at the very end, we'll talk about the lesson learned from this program or from the solution. So the current state and challenges, smart meters, water meters in general, it's a technology been there since since 1850. It's been there, used by everyone around the world. Within Auckland region, we have around 500,000 customers, and they're both used in domestic, in commercial customers and schools. There are varieties of meter size, depends on the and the way or the size of water coming through to those customers. We have different pipes and different size of pipes that needs a different size of meter. So DN15s, like 15 millimeter pipes or meters, and there are DN 300s. The problem with the mechanical meters is that their accuracy degradation. So the life expectancy for a meter in our as an asset is around 10 to 15 years, but throughout the age of these mechanical meters, these meters could overestimate or over calculate the volumetric reading, or under calculate the volumetric meter reading because of its mechanical nature. These meters are basically not only for billing. It's used by our team for understanding consumption trends, predicting future growth, and ensuring fair billing. There are quite few challenges as well within the water network. The primary challenges faced are related to water leaks. So by knowing exactly how much water we produce and how much water our customers are utilizing, we can pinpoint where the leaks are and how to handle those leaks. The other issues we face is the backflow issues where water flow could go backwards into the public network, which could face some health and safety risks. Addressing these instances requires a proper monitoring and robust prevention strategies. Now, smart meters may solve a lot of these challenges. How do we define a smart meter? Basically, it's an electronic device designed to both record and transmit information. The term smart meter emerged in the 1990s during the time when transmission of a measurement was perceived as a smart. Actually, there is no smartness inside the meter apart from being able to do the instrumentation and the measurements and send them through over a network protocol. Now, the current implementation for smart meters is around 50,000, which is around 10% of the total population or of our mechanical meters. And the current implementation is focusing on DN20 size pipes. For large meters requirements, for a larger meter requirements, we use data loggers, and I will explain that in a second. Smart meters has a consistency in maintaining their accuracy, so there is no moving parts, and it's all based on ultrasonic waves.
Yeah, I'll just come over there.
Right? There is one of the benefits of using smart meters that we can have some good tools on understanding the consumption pattern. With mechanical meters, as I will explain, we do like every second reading, our bi-monthly reading for our customer meter measurements, but with the smart meters we can have up to 15 minutes in some types, and other types up about 30 minute interval reading for the consumption. The network challenges that we can address in this, we can promptly alert users to water leaks, and we can have also some alerts for backflow. So we can address many of the challenges we are having today with mechanical meters. Now into the diversity and the standardization of smart meter data. First, we need to talk about water meter types. Going from the bottom up, mechanical water meters use traditional mechanism like gears and dials, as I explained, to measure water consumption, with reading conducted by meter reading companies or councils. The data subsequently collected and sent to the either to a head-end system, which is basically a system that is meant to manage these meters, or can send directly, as in at Watercare, can send to to a billing system or a billing team at Watercare or at the council. The next level of water meter type is what we call it AMR meters. We are automatic meter readings. These are smart meter devices specifically engineered to transmit data to a collection device using an RF frequency. There are two variants, primary variants for these meters, walk and scan meters and drive and scan. So basically, a meter reading company or a council can just drive by and collect data without actually visiting each particular meter. And we are not using this at Watercare, but there are some councils that are using this technology, and one of the councils, as far as we know, they are using like rubbish truck to with collection devices, so that because they can guarantee like a weekly visit to all these suburbs to collect metering data. It's a one-way. It's a one-way data feed into through these collection devices, using then a 4G or a 5G network to send that data into a head-end system. There is no way of remotely controlling these devices or configuring them. Now, the third level, which is what we call it AMI meters. These are advanced metering infrastructure devices. They communicate bidirectionally with a central server, what we call it here, a head-end system. Each meter have basically two digital modules, a measurement board that capture the flow, that could capture other data as well, and communication board facilitate a cellular network connectivity with the head-end system. These meters utilize low power wide area network protocols like MB-IoT, Cat-M1. There are other using LoRaWAN network. We are not using LoRaWAN here at Watercare. And through these 4G network variants of these low power protocols, the data can be transmitted bidirectionally. So metering data can send measurements, and also we can push configuration, push firmware update into these meters remotely. Now, if you talk about the head-end system, it's just a system for device management, and it's just like a hub to collect the data and format this data in a way that can be pushed to our end. At our end, there are quite few systems could be integrated with the smart metering data. Generally, we call it metering data management system. We don't have that. We have a different implementation. But the data, once the data is at our end, we can use it for different kind of consumption. We can use it for billing, reporting, mobile app solutions. We can share it with third parties or even internally for our own planning. And we can use it for operational aspect. So this is basically the three types at Watercare. Mainly, we have like around, as I said, we have 500,000, around 450,000 meters are still mechanical meters, and the other 50,000 are AMI meters. Now to the journey from drips to measurements. The ultrasonic meters we have basically transmit, utilize utilizes the ultrasonic wave to determine the fluid velocity by analyzing the difference time between the upstream and downstream ultrasonic signals. So you can see there are two sensors and receivers, and they're always sending these ultrasonic sound in both directions, and the sensor will determine, based on the speed of the flow, there will be a difference in the signal time received at both ends. And by measuring the difference in time, we can measure the size or the flow of the water in one direction. And you can see here, if there is a backflow, it's easily detected by these sensors. There is another way of measuring water, volumetric water reading, is by actually calculating the number of pulses coming from the mechanical meter itself. As I mentioned, the larger size meters, like more than 20 millimeter size, we don't have so far like ultrasonic fully integrated meters. We do have, however, we do use data loggers, and these data loggers basically calculate the number of pulses, and based on some ratios and just formulas, we can transform these pulses into liters and send them through to the head-end system. Now, meters primarily measure water consumption, but offer additional functionalities. Meters can generate various types of measurements, including like water flow rate, temperature, and signal strength. We already have most of our meters can handle and can collect this type of data, as well as water flow metering. We also have another two types of data that we collect, which are events and alarms. That's where the MEA's measurements, events, and alarms. Just as it's an acronym used by Internet of Things models or solutions. Events represents abnormal system status messages. A typical event occurs when someone tries to tamper with the device. We call it tamper detection, or when there is a leak in the property side or within the water network, or when there is a backflow of water. So I highlighted this with red, but with alarms, it's basically alarms are warnings, indicators for condition that could potentially cause problems. Typically, alarm triggers when a process value exceeds a threshold of some kind. So we have like a pressure threshold alarm or temperature threshold alarms. Now, the essence of the metering data is that normally what we do, because these are low power devices, we are expecting the battery of these meters to last for 15 years. So there is the way these meters are designed is that they don't send the data every time they collect a measurement. So basically the networking board or the networking module will go to sleep and wake up once every night or every morning, early in the morning. During the day, it will collect All of these measurements, it depends on the type of the measurements. So for water, volumetric water measurements, for the data loggers, we do that. Well, it's been configured to collect data every 15 minutes. While for the integrated smart meters, the ultrasonic ones, we collect the board collects the data every 30 minutes. Other measurements will be done differently, like temperatures could be collected once every 12 hours or every 8 hours. So we'll have maybe 3 temperature measurements, 1 or 2 pressure measurement, and so on. Now, all of these measurements will be saved in a memory board of the meter and sent once the network module wakes up around random time between 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. In the morning. Every time a meter sends the data, it will send the data of the previous day. So that's in this case, every meter is basically a data source, and the nature of any IoT solution is that there is no guarantee that the meter can communicate through the NB-IoT network with the head-end system. So I provided here like three samples, like smart meter 1 and 2 and 3. I mean, smart meter 1 is the ideal solution, where every night or every morning the meter managed to send data to of the previous day. In smart meter, the second smart meter, like on the 1st of January 2024, it didn't manage to send the data. So on the second day, it managed to send the data of the previous 2 days. Same with the and then with the third one, the meter couldn't communicate for a week with the head-end system, but it managed to send the entire week at the end of the week. So we can see that eventually the data will arrive to our head-end system, and the head-end system can manage to send the data to our end, but there is no guarantee that we will receive the data every day for every meter. So there are many reasons for that. One of the reasons is the network itself. So we have within Auckland area, there are in every telco network, there are weak points, dead end, dead zones, and there are strong good signal areas. There are also other parameters. Sometimes the meter, I mean, once we deploy these meters, we discover that some of the meter boxes are for historical reason, they are of a metal type. So the signal level will be almost dead, cannot communicate. So the only way to overcome this is by replacing the box with a standard. This is our standard one, which is basically a plastic cover. But even with that one, sometimes it depends on the topography and the geology of the site itself. It could be and the address itself could be in a valley, or there could be a problem with the installation itself. That's one of the different reasons why a signal cannot reach out to our head-end system. It could be like maybe a car or a truck park on top of the meter that could prevent the meter signal from communication properly. So there are quite few parameters affecting the data delivery from these meters to our head-end system. Now we can talk about the smart meter solution. These are the core components. Our smart meter solution is a system that includes basically 3 main data streams. The upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. In the upstream segment, we the focus on is the essential meter devices, the cellular networks, and the head-end system that form the backbone of the smart meter infrastructure. This is outside Watercare. We don't control that, and it's basically we are relying on different parties, and I will explain that in a second, in maintaining that. While the midstream basically is where our data lake is, and this is where we collect the data and do the ETL process, where we cleanse the data and make them ready for consumption, and then the upstream is where we consume the data and utilize it and use it for our customers or internally within our operation. So the smart meter upstream process involves, as I mentioned, collecting data from different data loggers and smart meters using different protocols. All data loggers are connected to an NB-IoT network and to a cellular network, one here we call it, and to a head-end system, while the smart meters, which are the ultrasonic ones, which is around 10% of the total number of our water metering fleet, are coming from 2 different models, each utilizing a different cellular network. Now, but at the end of the day, the smart meter data are ending in a different head-end system. We have 2 head-end systems for legacy reasons, and for other technological reasons. The head-end system 2, for example, does not support MQTT protocol, which is basically used by our data logger. So there are some reasons why we have 2 head-end systems in our solution. But I mean, ideally, we can have one that can support all types of smart meter data, being data loggers or being smart meters, ultrasonic smart meters, using any type of protocols, like lightweight, either lightweight M2M protocol or MQTT protocol. But that's what we have today, and we do have some plans into improving the current implementation in the future. In the midstream phase, our data processing pipeline, we implemented an extract, transform, load process to refine and prepare the data for the downstream use. And this involves transitioning the data through 3 key zones: raw, clean, curated. Each zone play a different role to ensure the quality and standardization of the data. And I'll go through the details in a second. And once the data lands in the from the data lake into the data warehouse, we integrated with our customer and billing account information. Within our billing operation, customer records are mapped with water metering data, enabling the creation of the billing readings that basically interface with our billing system. At the same time, other data, which is the interval data, which is the 15 minutes or 30 minutes data, is extracted and made ready and accessible through our mobile application. We also did an integration for our mechanical meter reading. As I mentioned, we are doing like a bi-monthly manual reading. We extract that data straight from our billing system and push them into our mobile app. So if you live in Auckland, even if you don't have a smart meter device in your property, you can download the app, and then you can see your bills, your monthly consumption. And of course, because we are doing a bi-monthly reading, every second month we do an estimate for our mechanical meter, or for customers with mechanical meters. We also have reports, extract reports, and dashboards using different tools. Maybe Power BI is one of them, and we have this data available to be shared by third parties. So we do have some research institutes who are using anonymized version of our smart metering data. So this is basically the end-to-end solution, smart meter solution. I mean, the operating model here, the upstream involves an efforts between smart meter suppliers, cellular network providers, head-end system, SaaS vendors, and our internal operations and digital team. For the midstream, pipeline is entirely managed by our data enablement and billing teams. While for the downstream, we include, which includes the mobile app, the reports, and the data share, is looked after by our data enablement and analytics team, as well as our application product team, along with external software house managing the app. Here I will be talking briefly about the transformational model. You can see that in our this is the midstream, basically, data pipeline with the 3 different zones I mentioned in the previous slides: the raw, clean, curated. We receive the data from the 2 head-end systems as Watercare files. We chose Watercare files, not CSV files, for example, so that we can maintain the schema of the data and in the payload. So these files will have the data in the schema as well. If you look at the top and the bottom, the top is from head-end system 1 and the bottom is from head-end system 2. You can see that the format, each head-end system has its own way of preparing the data for our consumption, and that's one of the big challenges we have that we need to solve. So once we receive the data, head-end system basically have 11 tables, and each table is of a different schema based like on events, alarms, different measurements, as I mentioned, and the inventory and the assets itself, like the meter ID, the association between the meter ID and the logger, and so on. While the head-end system 2 is simpler. We have like just one big table that has all the information, and it was easy for us to model it into our final model. Now, once the data is in raw, what we do, we look after all we do is that some schema validation, some basic schema validation, and some and if there is any timestamp difference or problem, we do timestamp standardization so that we all have we are using UTC timestamp. Once the data is in clean, we partition the data based on year, month, day, and do a bit of outlier checks. So if the data is outside a certain like measurement level, we either ignore the data or report it. And then we prepare the data for the final curated modeling. And that's what we spend a lot of time on, how we can model these two types of data formats into one unified model, and we spend a good time in building these models to abstract the data source type and schema. So today we do have one standard model that bring events, alarms, and measurements, as well as assets, into one unified schema that we can consume. Now, we look after the data quality end to end, from where the data we received until up to where the data is consumed in the curated zone. We have a lot of data lineage measurements, where we have we tag the data based on the previous data source format or source record. So if we open any record in the curated, we can trace it back to the clean and the raw zone record. Now, leveraging smart meter data in the application and the advanced analytics. This is the app that we developed at Watercare with the help of one of the software companies. It's a mobile app that is basically has two flavors in Android and Apple. Just excuse me, I need to. Sorry for the hassle. The app itself can give you a daily insight on your daily consumption, as well as if you click on any day, can give you an idea about your 30-minute consumption value. So you can tell if there is, and there are also some capability within the app to tell you if there is a leak during the night, because normally these are the period where there is no consumption of water. So the app can give you indication about your trend, your daily consumption compared to the previous day or the previous week. It can give you some alerts and advice on how to save water. It can also give you a way to pay for your bills. And also it can give you a way of give you an indication if you are like a three people household, or 4 or 5, if you are above or below the average consumption for this household. The other way we consume the data is we build some dashboards using Power BI. Our customer team will have detailed meter and account information, and that will give them some information about the daily use. with a graph of different interval. This is a real-time visibility. This real-time visibility enhances customer engagement and facilitate some good water management. We can basically respond to our customer calls by just comparing or by looking at their daily usage. So lessons learned. Here are lessons learned in this journey. Some of these lessons are textbook best practices example, but they were real life challenges that we were faced to solve. Designing a solution that accommodates the nature of our data is crucial. It's all about understanding the type of the data and like format, volume, complexity, and then crafting a solution that works with it. Harnessing the available data within our solution is like tapping into a vast reservoir of insights. It's about leveraging the wealth of information. Anticipate and plan for technological advancement and challenges. I mean, this solution, we are talking about 15 years in investment in every smart meter. So the choice we need to make in deciding on the technology, what's today, what a cutting edge technology today in 15 years time could be an outdated technology. So we need to build some kind of a continuity in our solution. That's why the unified data model that we built within at Watercare gives us some leverage on changing any component, any head-end system, or any data format. Because at the end of the day, our consumption model is relying on a schema that we understand, and it's unified, regardless of the solution we are using at the upstream data pipeline. The other one is considering implementing a brownfield approach. As I mentioned, I mean, in 10 years time or 15 years time, if we change the head-end system or change the metering type, we still need to support the existing meter fleet. So this is something we always in our mind. And as I mentioned, developing a data model that abstracts the complexity and the variability of data source is so important. And then establish an efficient data pipeline with comprehensive operational visibility. We always need to understand how each of these systems are behaving. We need to have we have monitoring solutions on every head-end system. We are relying on SaaS solutions to provide us with some will provide us that device management capability, because we don't run these systems ourselves. So we always need to build some operational visibility to these systems. At the very end, before going through Q&A, I mean, the solution at Watercare is in its size, it's basically second or third in Australia and New Zealand. We are maybe, I mean, in terms of the number of devices, we are behind maybe South Yarra Valley and maybe ahead of Sydney in our implementation. So it's a solution that and a model of operating our operating a smart meter solution that we're basically proud of, and it could be a good model for other councils to follow. I mean, that's me.
Thank you very much, Zahir. Thank you. Peter, do you want to take charge of any questions?
Well, we've got one question from David.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Zahir. The one question I have is, of course, when you create these kind of solutions, you want to have a kind of cheap, low-cost network. You know, it's putting a lot of, you know, a lot of meters you need to connect. I'm a lot more familiar with what happens in the electricity industry. You refer to this one NB-IoT cellular network. What exactly is that? I mean, we're all familiar with the 3G, 4G, 5G
this is yeah. It's an what do you call it? The narrowband IoT. It's basically a small slice of the 4G network. It's part of the 4G network. If you have a 4G network, I think you just need to enable it. So it is, and it's very widely used only for IoT because it's the bandwidth is small, but it has the capability of handling millions of IoT devices at the same time. Now, maybe the 5G network could be the next step, but we haven't seen, I mean, I personally haven't seen a 5G network IoT smart meter devices so far. Most of the implementation of smart meter solutions are based on NB-IoT or LoRaWAN or Sigfox.
So effectively, you're using either some Spark or Vodafone One's network, but you're on a very low cost plan, if I call it that. So it's a
I mean, it's not. It's of course, if you compare the SIM card on these smart meter devices, they are much cheaper. But we are talking about volumes, so we want it to be cheaper as we can, because we are talking when we talk about 500,000 device. So maybe the annual cost of each SIM could be $2 or $3, or maybe something like that. It's not that expensive. If we can't compare it with the mobile device, simply because it's a different scale.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you, Dave. Any other? I've actually got a question before I throw it. But I see there's another question from Mark. But before Mark goes, so what percentage here do you consider as coverage? What's the target? So you've got 10% now. Is 10% sufficient to give you good enough coverage to understand what's going on in the network, or are you looking to get significantly higher?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we are still. I mean, it's a big implementation compared to anywhere in New Zealand, but it's still small compared to the size of our of Auckland. I would expect like anything between 50 to 60% coverage will give us some good understanding on the overall consumption and consumption of water, and a good tool to plan for the growth of the water network, or the consumption of the user consumption model. So I think 50 to 60%. That's when we can see the real benefits of the solution.
Yeah. So can you enrich the kind of that raw data with geospatial and or demographic data, so that you actually can understand kind of wider things around consumption, i.e. being able to draw a kind of polygon around certain area to understand the kind of rolled up consumption and then drill down?
We already have the smart meter addresses, and we have our GIS system that reflects where these assets are. So of course we can do that, and that's basically the goal.
Right.
But if you're talking about, does these meters have any geolocation, I doubt, and we don't need that because these are like not moving. We are not. These are not IoT devices that sits on a truck or on a ship or something. These are just fixed locations where we install these meters in a particular address that we know everything about.
So, but you can, within the kind of data warehouse, part of the extended data model includes the location of the consumption.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
So you could kind of say, well, I actually want to draw
not with it
on a map and say, this is what my consumption likes. Yeah. The reason I'm asking is because you're providing, here is how your consumption in terms of average for a 2-3 person family.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm imagining there are different consumption patterns that may be demographically different, which is, hey, if you're in Remuera, this is what your typical consumption looks like, versus against other 2-person families in Remuera.
There are endless use cases where we can utilize this data, and I'm sure that this would be part of our future development. At this stage, we can link this data to the assets. We know where the assets are. If we need to build that kind of reporting, we can do that easily.
So it sounds like Mark's worried about his swimming pool. So
I wouldn't have thought so. I don't have one, mate. So.
The answer ultimately, Mark, is yes, absolutely. Certainly in terms of some of the town planning stuff that we do as an organisation.
Sorry, Matt, do you want to repeat that? Sorry.
I was saying certainly as part of some of the town planning stuff that we're doing within the organisation, as we start, well, we already use metadata, albeit it's largely estimated data to understand where we need to upgrade capacity within the network.
Yeah, it's that you've got the ability to kind of abstract gross flow based on kind of and then being able to build out predictions of what it might look like in other, as you grow things or build a new suburb. This is actual real data that you could use to flesh out those models. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, and it'll simply improve the accuracy of the work that we do in that space at the moment. Potentially reduce some of the fact that we have to build in because of the rough accuracy of data we've got today.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you. Steve? You've got your hand up, Steve. Still on mute though, I think.
I've worked out that telepathy doesn't work, Steve. You have to unmute the mic.
While Steve's coming up, thank you, Matt. He answered Tim's question as well. Tim did mention that what Zahir said in terms of the old mechanical stuff that starts malfunctioning and gives incorrect readings. So after they replaced his meter, that started actually go down. His consumption. And he also just asked about the data being made externally available. And Matt's answer to that is just no plans apart from the bill payers account or the account owner.
Well, it would be privacy issues, I suppose.
Yeah.
It.
I think Steve's off mute now.
Yes, Steve.
Can you guys all hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've got a question about durability, and then my team stopped responding. Yes, I've got a question around the durability and accuracy on the meters itself. So, what's the lifespan on the meters, and how do you ensure consistent accuracy on those ultrasonic sensors?
The life, on paper, there is a guarantee between, I think they guarantee something between 12. It's the battery, the problem. The battery, and of course the structure of the meter. The meter, the meter is submerged underwater for I don't know how many hours, it could break. But let's take the ideal solution or ideal scenario where the meter is in a good area, in a good condition. It could last for 15 years. The battery can last for 15 years. Now, there is a reason why the battery can last less, simply because if the way the network module advertise and try to find the signal or the tower, it do a bit of trials, and it will increase the power of the signal if it fails to communicate in the first place. So it depends if the signal is or the tower is a bit out of reach. It could spend more power to communicate, and that's why we could have meters with maybe 7 or 8 years of life span, while the others could last more. The good thing is that part of the measurements we are receiving is the battery level or the battery health. So theoretically, we can proactively action the replacement of these meters as we notice a degradation in the battery level or health. So this is in theory. So what was the other?
The accuracy of the ultrasonic receivers.
There is no moving parts. We are talking about we are talking about like a sensor, a sender and receiver of ultrasonic wave. It should be much more accurate than any mechanical meter. Do they degrade over time? I mean, theoretically, no, because we are talking about just an ultrasound wave that's synced. But I mean, it's a sensor, and it's a ultrasound wave generator as well. So it's subject to a fault, to any fault or any aging, but if it fails, it fails. It doesn't degrade. It doesn't like give us a wrong measurement. It's either it fails or not. So it is from our perspective, it's much more accurate than the mechanical meter.
Right. So one final question for me is, let's say if we have a faulty meter, smart meter, is there like a backup meter recording the usage while the smart meter is waiting to be replaced, or do we just get a free ride on the water usage?
You will get a free ride on the water usage.
Nice.
Well, I mean, that's the case, not only with the, I mean, you could have a free ride on the water usage with mechanical meters, and many consumers with the mechanical meters will have at some stage, but it's a two-edged sword. Mechanical meters could estimate or could over measure. So it is it's good to for customers to notice anything and let us know to get it replaced. But with the smart meter, we have more proactive way of action that replacement, because we can detect that there is a problem with the measurements or with the meter. Today we don't have that visibility. Once the meter is in the ground and it's there, I mean, we need someone to physically go there and find out.
Thank you very much. Great solution and great presentation.
Just on a build on Mark's question, just around that, you have this data, but do you actually have any kind of demographic data around, number of people live in the home? Back to this point, if everyone's just seen as a, household kind of thing, you don't really have much data. But if you had, some kind of demographics, number of family members, children, whatever, you might have. But then, of course, you get to that kind of whole privacy area saying, well, are we even allowed to capture that data for what we're trying to do?
Well,
do you have any data?
We didn't do that in our, we didn't capture because we don't have, first, we don't have that information. Basically, it's in the app. If you are a 3-person household, you can just change the number, and the app will give you an idea if you're over consuming.
The physical statement does that. It shows you your water usage, and it says a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And we don't have a way to, we don't have a way to collect that data back, so we can't tell if you put like 3 or 4 or 5 household or occupant in that property. There is no way for us to collect that information. So in terms of privacy, there is no problem here, and we intentionally did that.
I have a question. How long does the device buffer? So if it can't transmit, how many days can it buffer?
Okay, so we have two types of smart meter, integrated smart meter devices. One of them has the capability of, there are two types. There are many types, many objects of smart metering data. One object is for billing, which is once a day, and there is another object for interval. And we have around 48 readings for that object. From billing perspective, we have priority. We need to keep the billing information. It's more important than the interval information, which is basically for our customers. So there is a priority to save the billing information over the intervals. The size for 1 meter, or the amount of data for 1 meter is around 3 weeks, while the other meter can save up to 6 months. When we say 3 weeks, it's based on priority. So if it's more than 3 weeks, we put priority for the billing information to be kept in the device, and we basically roll over the interval data. So there is a bit of a smartness in the operating system of these devices, and there is a bit of we know what's important for the utility, which is basically the billing information first, and then the interval, which is giving us insight on the way the consumers are consuming that data during the day. And then we have the temperature and then the pressure, which are, temperature could be a minor thing, but we collect that data anyway. So yes, there is. If the device
is broken, can they read that data? So now it's not communicating, say, for 2 weeks. You go and look, the device is broken. Is there a way to actually extract that data?
I think there is a way. I mean, physically you can grab the meter and if you can make the meter. If the meter is still operational but it's not communicating, we can grab that information. There is a photo in one of the meters. There is a kind of a photo cell that we can have an interface on that photo cell, and we can basically we can update the firmware. We can read the entire memory stack of that meter, the content of the data in that meter, whatever information is available by the manufacturer. We can do that, but we don't do that frequently, and we prefer managing those meters remotely. There could be some odd occasions where when we need to investigate a problem in the meter, we do that. But there is a possibility of. But if the board is broken, if we have like I don't know, if the meter submerged in water and the entire digital board is broken, there is nothing we can do about it.
No, we're over time. I've actually got one last question. Coming from or staying in a semi-rural area where we're on tank water, sometimes I think having something like this would actually quite help to understand your consumption, which is not necessarily very apparent, or you would know, right? If is there 2 questions maybe? Is it possible to get these meters off the shelf, or is it purely through what you guys are implementing? And is there any plans to actually roll it out into places that are on tank water to better gauge what the waste could possibly be? Or how do they calculate that?
So if we go back to the number, let's say we have 500,000 meters, mechanical meters, and we have a rollout of a meter every 15 years. Every mechanical meter officially, regardless of its condition, we will replace it every 15 years. That's the current plan. So we do need on a regular basis to replace around 30,000 meter a year. So this is in the pipeline today, because we need to replace these mechanical meters every 15 years, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
But plus that, we have an extra 10 or 15,000 meters that we basically implement or install for new properties or the new developments. So it depends on there is nothing like you can order. I mean, it's like you can't order like a smart meter installation to your property. But if there is something wrong with your meter, with your mechanical meters, the next available meter will be a smart meter, not a mechanical meter. So that's how we are planning. But in the future, maybe we are going to change that. Maybe we will target areas. We will say, okay, here is Remuera. Let's do all Remuera so that we can get some benefits. Today is random. Because it's based on that scheme of replacing these meters every 15 years, as I mentioned. So in the future, maybe we will target Remuera, we could target the North Shore, we could target South Auckland or something like that. So that we will have a real benefit knowing this area, how we are planning water consumption and don't forget, we don't only need to water consumption, we need to plan for the wastewater as well, because once you have water, you have wastewater. So it's all linked in one network.
Cool. That's it. There's no other questions on the chat. Anything else? Yes.
Just final word from me then. Thank you again, Zahir. Much appreciated. I found that very insightful, and I think by the number of questions, I think your audience did as well. So thank you very much for presenting.
My pleasure.
That.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. And thank you to everyone that attended. Please reach out if you have any further questions to the care. Right. Thank you all. Look forward to seeing it then. Thanks, Zahir.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.